Alright, for number 2, it said this. F of x equals x squared plus 3x minus 2. Find f of negative 1/3. So we need to put this into a variable. What variable is it going into? X. So I'm going to put this every time I see an x, except for your term that's squared, it needs to go in parentheses. So if you put all of that in your calculator, if you haven't already, go ahead and do that.
You just drop your $100 calculator.
She just rolled my bed. You married Paula?
Are you waiting
For the answer, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I got 19 in one life, but I don't
Why she was sabotaging?
It might be wrong, but I got 2.8.
She thought about it.
repeating for
So you should have gotten negative 26/9 or negative 2.8 repeating.
Negative.
Negative 2.8. Oh wait, 26/9.
Negative, yeah.
Okay, I can't see.
So if you were putting this in your calculator, you need your parentheses, otherwise you get something else. Also, I saw some of you using the method that we talked about, going into your table set and changing that number to find this. That would have also worked. I'm just going to show you what I'm talking about.
I just lost the back.
It's right by your foot, Ian. It's right by your foot.
I think he needs glasses.
You guys wish you were as creative as me?
I don't know.
Did you make it your magic for son?
What?
Did you make it your magic for son?
Hi.
At Jerome?
Oh, I couldn't read.
So if you put this in your y equals and you go to your table, you won't be able to see.
Hey, bro.
Bro, one man
I'm not trying to get nuked today.
any ringtone. And I'm gonna use this one.
So you wouldn't see 1/3 or negative 1/3 in here. So you have to go into table set above window, second window, change this number to 1/3. I want to see if I can do this. And if you go back into your table, now you can see where it would be at 1/3, negative 1/3. It still shows that negative 2.8. And the last number is just a 9 because 8 is repeating and it rounded the very last number in this. So that would still work. Make sure you have that answer written down and then pass up your answer sheets. Ava, you can keep this until you finish.
I didn't even
No.
Okay. Pass it up.
Nope. Hey, bro. Have you ever seen a pumpkin? Hey, Alex.
Who all was not here last class?
I don't
Hello, what's
remember.
Yeah, she left early for her
You're
birthday.
not here. And you left early.
Oh yeah.
Because it was Ava's birthday. I think we should all say grace.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated birthday.
Ow.
And I know you
Yeah,
left.
and then she flexed like eating Chick-fil-A after she left.
Your birthday's Thursday.
This bathroom, right across.
Oh yeah.
Get a drink of water from that water fountain. If you finish the perpendicular investigation, raise your hand.
Oh,
I know this group did.
pretty sure I did.
Did your group
Oh, I
finish?
don't know.
So if your group didn't finish, then wait if you didn't finish. I know you guys' group finished. But
You guys finish up first.
see, you left early, so you don't really count.
You look early too.
I'm gonna rearrange some of you,
What? Why?
Yay!
just because I need to figure out who hasn't done this at all and who still needs to.
Oh, alright. You guys finish that back.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Now I can't go to work.
You gotta put it in a bond.
No, I can't put it because it's color.
No, don't do it.
What are you gonna do? Go to work?
No, you can put like a height on it.
For real?
So you join this table right here. Tiffany.
I'm not doing like that.
Go to
Oh,
one
I
of those
didn't take
tables
my
back
test
there.
either. Yeah, she
The
did.
quiz.
Yeah.
That's come before us.
Okay.
Like one of those little rock songs.
Okay, but right now I'm
And then when Bishop
Ellie,
comes
you
back,
What?
Tom will get his stuff
Wait,
and come back here.
wait.
We have to teach the dance today for how to talk a lot.
Ava,
I bet it's gonna be the love.
I don't even.
I know you guys are
I
doing
didn't bring a water, so use a water bottle. My mug is expensive. My mama said you can bring it today. I accidentally. My mama said something. You are not bringing that mug till the day of or the day before. Let's see what's my sister. No, bro. Hot, the lot.
grab your stuff and then
She did all the shit.
it's just
Which part of it?
what I need to
I believe that he needs
Well, you tell me where you were making it into. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's
The 5 of you, if you haven't already, check your crates. Work together.
Like, let's get out of
You
here.
don't have to color it, but you can. Everyone except those 2 groups, I need you to finish your perpendicular investigation. So if you are almost done or when your entire group finishes, let me know. That's what you're working on right now, and then we'll continue that after lunch. You 2 groups, I will tell you what you're doing. If you don't have a perpendicular investigation, also tell me so I can get it to
Are you watching that NASCAR race again? Is it a it when I turn left or is it the one when I turn right?
Huh? That's what my cousin calls that. I'll make.
Walking that half hour. Is it the left turn or is it
Look in one of these little here.
What? Oh.
like that makes sense?
Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
I had a song in my head.
What she did to me yesterday when I walked in and she put me on blast. She's like, I like your hair. And then she made the whole class stop just to ignore my hair. That really had me.
Miss Thomas is amazing. Where did
She's like, we just stop and like recognize Lucy's hair. I said, why?
it looks good?
She need to do that though. Oh yeah, Bishop, why are you looking over here?
Oh, I'm just spectating.
I never see anything.
No way.
What did you say back?
Huh? I said nothing because I didn't hear what she said.
I'm not gonna have it.
No.
I'm gonna say what I have to say.
Guys, have a seat.
Yes. I said I can have your license right now if I wanted.
Were you talking about the Miss Hannah, like the white lady who's like really?
I said I suggest you watch what you said.
Oh, shoot. I think I made her cry on accident.
Yeah.
I was
I did.
and she called Mr. Bailey.
I said I suggest you watch what you say because I can have your license right now if I wanted.
I look like next to you.
No, I thought it was.
But I don't care what you said. I'm ready to
The teacher said something to Bishop. No, but like not like.
No, this time it wasn't my
I'm
fault.
talking about like the math, like
in front of the class.
cotton and stuff like that.
Are you on your clock?
It was a white one.
I'll get heated over anything. I'm never getting heated over anything. But like, I wasn't heated over that. I was just pissed off because like, she's gonna make my year harder. She's gonna grade everything more harder.
Bell's gonna ring in a. It doesn't matter, meaning what? They could be the same or they could be different. It doesn't matter. What about the slope? Avery's answer. Same numbers in the fraction but reversed. So we're going to talk about that. Those are called reciprocals. And then one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So now that you have figured out that, so we did parallel. We talked about they had to have the same slope. They had to have different y-intercepts. And now that you've found out the perpendicular, we're going to actually talk about them together. So everyone should have these notes in front of them. Does anyone not? Anyone else not have them? Oh, they were right there.
Oh.
Alright, so The definition of parallel lines are two lines that don't intersect. That's not how I wanted to word that. And then algebraically, it's talking about the slope and the y-intercept. They have the same slopes. There was something else there too.
They don't intersect.
They don't intersect. Correct. They don't cross. They have the same slope but different y-intercepts. That was supposed to be a key. It didn't work. Perpendicular lines. We know that they do what? They cross or they intersect, yes. At a 90-degree angle though. So if they don't just cross, however, they have to be specifically crossing at a 90-degree angle. And then what we found was the slopes are negative reciprocals. So I'm going to write that so you can see. So that means one has to be positive, one has to be negative, and one has to be the flipped version of the other one. And the y-intercepts could be the same or different. So we need to keep those two things in mind about parallel and perpendicular lines. I see some pencils still writing, so I'll give you a second. So what would the negative reciprocal of 3/4 be? Negative 4/3. What about 2? Negative 1/2. So we have to remember that our whole numbers really are over 1. So if we want to take the reciprocal of it, we have to make sure that 1 stays. The negative reciprocal of negative 7/8. 8/7. So it was already 7/8, so we have to flip those numbers. What about 1? Negative 1. What about 0? No. No.
0.
So if this is 0, if I change this,
1/0.
what's 1/0? What's anything over 0?
0.
Undefined. So a line that has a 0 slope and a line that has an undefined slope are perpendicular. So our x equals and our y equals are perpendicular lines. Alright, so in these cases, they're giving us 2 ordered pairs from both sets of these lines. We need to determine if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. How would we do that? Or how do you think we do that? What do we need to know about parallel lines and perpendicular lines, Jack?
Find the slope.
We need to find the slope. So we can't tell if they're parallel or perpendicular if we don't know the slope. How do we find slope again? So that's the equation of a line that has slope in it.
Y2 minus Y1 over
But it's the y's first. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So you had the format correct. You just needed to switch your x's and y's. In this case, it does not matter which one you choose to be x1, y1, and x2, y2, but you're going to have to find two different slopes because there's two different lines here. So I'm going to do AB first, and I'm going to go through and label these. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And then go ahead and find your slopes. So for AB, this would be 6 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 2. 2 minus negative 2 is what? Positive 4. And then we need to find our slope for CD, the line CD. I'm sorry, the line segment for CD. So again, go through and label. So 3 minus, was it 0? Yeah. Over 3 minus negative 1. So this would be 3 over 4. So are these parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Nisa said that wrong. Yes, how do you know that? Because they're both the same. So these are parallel because they're both the same. Now, I'm going to show you this. You really don't need this now, but you'll use these symbols a lot more in geometry. This is the symbol for parallel. That makes sense because it looks like parallel lines. I'm going to do one more, and then we'll see how much time we have left. So this is not 11, so it's just the lines. Please don't be confused by that. That's not the number 11. It looks like it, but it's not. Alright, same thing with number 2. We need to find two different slopes. I'm going to go through them, label them again. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. And this is going to be 4 minus 2 over 5 minus 0. What's the slope of AB? 2/5. And then you're doing the same thing for CD. So this one's going to be 3 minus 8 over 3 minus 1. What's your slope for CD? Negative 5 over 2. Are these lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? I heard one person. Perpendicular, why?
Opposite.
Because they're reciprocal, so let's try to use that word. They're reciprocals, but not just reciprocals, they're negative reciprocals. Because one's positive and one's negative. So this is the symbol for perpendicular lines. It's an upside down T. So if you look at this, these are 90 degrees, so the lines are perpendicular. We have time to do one more. Let's do 3. So I want you to go ahead and do 3. And then I want you to tell me whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither.